Thank you so much for joining us, Abhishek. Truly a pleasure to have you on Brand Equity and ET.
Thank you, my pleasure.
So first things first, you've been making news because of your whole venture into sports and you becoming a sports entrepreneur. Did you ever imagine that this was someday going to be a passion of sorts, or had you just taken it as it comes?
No, it was done by design. It was something I was always very keen to do. Didn't quite figure it happened so quick,
Sure.
but I'm not complaining. But it was something that's definitely done by design, and something that I was very passionate about, and something that I thought of doing for a very long time.
Right. Your first investment came via PKL or Pro Kabaddi. And that was something that, until it really took off and the ratings came in, nobody really expected it to do so well. So how did you punt on Pro Kabaddi, given the fact that, it's such a passé game, so to speak, in India?
Well, I think that was one of the first things that I realized, that it wasn't passé at all. It's just that in urban India, we don't get to hear about it.
Sure.
I think the greatest learning I've had with Kabaddi is that there is life beyond Mumbai and Delhi.
Sure.
And there's a sizable market share over there, which kind of overshadows in terms of numbers compared to what we're used to dealing with on a daily basis.
Right.
And it was something that I was very convinced by the minute I saw my first modern Kabaddi match. And I knew it was going to work. Yes, it was a huge risk because nobody had any faith in it. Case in point, not many people got sponsors on board, not many of the teams. We had a challenge and all of that in the first season. But what was really nice is the conviction all the franchisees and the promoters had in Kabaddi and the Pro Kabaddi League.
Right.
And today, you're riding that wave of success. The same people that said no to you initially are coming back to you, offering you double, triple the amount that they were negotiating earlier.
Right.
Kabaddi wasn't just something that I jumped into because it was a sweet deal. I educated myself about the sport completely because we basically know the general rules of Kabaddi. What modern day Kabaddi is a completely different beast.
Sure.
And in terms of football, I grew up in a British boarding school, so football was pretty much everything and anything we knew about.
Right.
So these are things I know about.
And how did ISL come about, and how did you land that?
Well, I was always very keen to do something with football because I'm a huge football fan. To see that, there's huge amount of talent for football in India. I live in Mumbai on the beach, and I see, the kids playing on the beach, and they're fantastic. I very strongly believe there was no proper infrastructure or any sort of coaching structure for them to come through.
Right.
After a point of time in sports, if you're a sports person, you realize that talent can only take you to a certain degree. After that, it is your backroom support staff, your coaching that is going to take you to a different level. Things, small things like nutrition, the kind of training,
Right.
the kind of coaching. These are things that really make a huge difference. And I feel that's where we were lacking in India. So I was looking to do something with that when I learned about the ISL. And, took my chances, bid. And, today here we stand, co-owner Chennai NFC.
Yeah.
We're top of the league right now. It's all good.
So give me a sense of the kind of investment you've made for football, for ISL.
Well, for me, football was a lot more expensive than Kabaddi was. Because like you said, nobody was really banking on Kabaddi. So
Sure.
we had to make it a very competitive product in terms of as a financial package. Football is a much larger project because the majority of the investment actually goes into your grassroots program, which is what each franchisee has a mandate to set up within the first 2 years.
Right.
So that obviously was something that I could not afford to do by myself. So I took on my partner, which is Mrs. Vitadani from Asian Paints. And we then brought on Mahendra Singh Dhoni also later on once we had set up everything. And so the investment is substantial. But I think it'll take a longer time to break even because it is a much bigger figure.
Right.
But I give it seven years.
7 years?
Yeah, it's going to take 7 years because I think that's the time it'll take, almost a generation for the fans to kick in.
Right.
As we all know, sports is driven by the fans. What is very encouraging, which is something very honestly I have to say I never expected, was to see the kind of turnout we have already at the stadiums.
Right, right.
That's encouraging. There's a certain fan culture that is falling into place.
There was some criticism about the fact that, while we're very cricket-centric as a country, no doubt about that, and kudos to Star to try and develop, new properties and really new emerging sport in India. The problem with soccer, some seem to think, was that, all these yesteryear soccer stars coming in wouldn't get that kind of excitement and traction going. Would you agree?
No.
Okay.
The kind of reception Robert Pires or Freddie Lundberg, the reception they got when they landed in India goes to show what legends they are. They're footballers of great repute. There are footballers which might not be in their prime right now, but they're footballers who are those very footballers are performing brilliantly in the ISL. At the end of the day, we do realize you're competing with the best in the business. See, when you had the IPL or you have Pro Kabaddi League, you have the best athletes in that sport playing for you. In football, your biggest challenge is that you don't have the best of the best. You don't have the Cristiano Ronaldos. You don't have the Wayne Rooneys. You don't have the Messis that are playing here. They play for their respective clubs in Europe.
Sure.
How can you put together a product which is going to be exciting enough for people to watch? My approach to that, which I keep sharing with all my fellow franchisees, is okay, we can't get those players down. We can't afford them right now. They might not want to come down to India to play because the project isn't big enough for them right now. You have to build that local support. At the end of the day, football is very clannish. You'll do anything for your club. So build that kind of loyalty around your club. So go directly to the fans.
Sure.
I'd like to believe we've made a dent in the television rating points of the EPL and the Bundesliga and the Serie A and all the wonderful leagues that are aired around the same time as us. So, it's going to be a challenge, but it's going to be a fun challenge. It's something, you can't make it easy for yourself. At the end of the day, the start has been a lot more encouraging than I expected it to be, but I think it'll take us a good generation. You're also competing against leagues and clubs that have been around for over 100 years. So they have a heritage of that coming through.
Right.
And this is just something you're starting for the first time.
I also believe that you're a very big basketball fan.
Yes.
Right.
It's my first love.
Yes. So is that something that we're going to see as well?
I'd love to.
Yeah?
I'd love to.
Would that be part of your sport company, which I also want you to throw light on?
Absolutely. That's something I would love to do. I was a basketball player in school.
Okay.
I was captain of my basketball team. It's the first sport I played and loved and still do.
Right.
And I'd love to do something with basketball in India because I think there's a huge market here waiting to explode.
So are you meeting the NBA commissioner who's going to be in town in December?
Yeah.
You are?
Yeah.
Right. So there is something brewing there.
No, I won't. I'd love to meet him.
Okay.
I had the honor of meeting David Stern, who was the last NBA commissioner. I'm a huge NBA fan.
Right.
I have been since I was a kid. And so I'm meeting him more on a social basis.
Okay.
But I'm not too sure whether the way forward will be with the NBA. I don't know if that is the right way to go about it. The NBA is the paramount of basketball in the world. I think we have to set up our own local program here.
If you can just throw light on, the sports company, you've made it very clear that your films and your sport interests will be very different.
Yeah.
And there will be two different verticals, really. So if you can throw light on how the sport company will function.
The two businesses have to be run independent of each
course,
other
yeah.
because you can't mix them. You can't have the same kind of professionals handling it as well because I don't think it works as an umbrella company where you can have everything under the same roof because there are different set of skill sets that are required for film business and for the sports business. Today we have, thankfully, trained professionals in sports management. Those are the kind of people I'd like to have, and that's how they're going to run it. I have two sporting teams that are already part of my portfolio.
Right.
I also realize that although the first season is over of Kabaddi, Kabaddi is going to become a beast, but you need to make it grow. So I need to have people on board who share my vision and who can implement my vision. Because at the end of the day, I'm an actor. That is my core capability, and that's my first love. That's what I'm going to do. I cannot be just working on Kabaddi and football throughout the year, because that's not what I do, So I need people who are going to be able to run this company for me and fulfill the dreams that I have for Kabaddi and for football.
Tell me, would you call yourself a financially astute man?
I think so.
You think so?
I think so. I mean, I'm an economics student, so yeah.
No, I mean in terms of the business decisions you've made with, let's say,
You know,
Kabaddi.
I think far too much is made about finance. You know,
Okay.
people tend to scare us. I think the mantra has to be what we call KISS. You know,
Which is?
keep it simple, silly.
Okay.
You know, so yeah, I think if you're okay being basic about your money, then you'll always be fine.
Sure, sure. You know, I want to talk about your worldview on content, really, and really Indian content and
Okay.
its progression. And you know, you've actually been in a position to actually see this content from a very young age, so your exposure levels are much higher
Yeah.
in terms of the intricacies of the business. Would you say that content really in India, specifically Bollywood, has really been progressive, or do you think somewhere we've lost the plot? And I'm talking just commercial cinema.
Have we lost the plot? Not at all.
Do you think storytelling is becoming finer and finer?
No, it's not. It is always very fine. I think India has a huge heritage of storytelling. We have a huge bank of stories. We cater to the largest cinema-going audience in the world.
Right.
Indian cinema sells the maximum amount of tickets in the world. The amount of footfalls we have in our cinemas is greater than any other country in the world.
Sure.
And so we're obviously doing something right. You know, there might not be such a high successful rate, but if people are going to the theatre still, there's something that is very magnetic about Indian cinema. There's something that keeps luring the audiences back.
Right.
So I don't think we've lost the plot. If anything, I think we're growing exponentially. I mean, I was in Brazil for the World Cup in July, and walking on, the last time I was there shooting a film called Dhoom 2, you know, Ritik, Aishwarya, Bipasha, Uday and I used to walk on Copacabana, no problem, you know, walk on the beach, chill out on our days off, nobody used to disturb us. I couldn't walk on Copacabana this time because everybody knew me because I'm Jay Dixit from Dhoom.
Oh, okay.
They see Indian cinema
Right.
in Brazil, in Peru, in Poland. These are all markets that are opening up, and these are not traditional Indian diaspora audiences. I mean, Farah was telling me that she has a fan club in Tokyo. You know, Rajni uncle made a movie called Muttu, which released in Japan and made over 8 crores.
Yeah.
You know, it's insane. The highest grossing Indian film in Korea is a film my father made called Black, which did the equivalent of 23 crores. It's insane. These are not markets that are traditionally where just Indian people are there or expatriates are there. These are completely new markets. So the Indian film industry is growing hugely. There's something about the content and the style of Indian cinema that is appealing to people. And I think that's working. So if anything, I think we're getting the plot together.
Okay. Let me flip that question around. Do you think the audience, right, audience's tastes are evolving or have evolved over the years, or do you think it's pretty much status quo in terms of what the audience wants?
The way I look at it is they just want to be entertained.
Right.
You know, whether that taste is refined or crude or crass, I mean, that's a bit too judgmental for me. At the end of the day, you go in, you enjoy the film, that's all that matters.
Yeah, sure.
Cinema is an emotional experience.
Right.
You know, you go into a dark theater, eat your popcorn, have your soda, whatever, and you go in and you submit yourself to a fantasy world. Indian cinema by nature is escapist. And the greatest thing about Indian cinema is it provides poetic justice to a person who might not get that in their entire life.
Very well put.
If you see Western culture, which may be more educated, their cinema and their art reflects that. So their artists can submit entirely to a character. Their artists can be very artistic in their approach.
Sure.
In Indian cinema, we want to see Shah Rukh open his hands like this every time.
Right.
You know, we want to see Dad with his dialogue delivery. There's a certain sense of hero worship that goes on. There is a completely different requirement to Indian cinema and from the actors that there is in the West.
Right.
So it's actually it's not really fair to compare the two because you're catering to completely different audiences.
Tell me, this whole mad rush to like cross the 200 crore mark, right? Almost everybody wants to do that. First it was the 100 crore club. Now, of course, it's the 200 crore club. Last case in point being Happy New Year. So many congratulations on that count. How much pressure does it put on the producer, director, and the actors in total to cross that mark And what kind of, you know, content compromises does one have to make just to ensure that is done?
Have you seen Happy New Year?
No.
Okay. Have you seen this movie called Three Idiots?
Yes.
Did you like it?
Yes.
It's as simple as that. Nobody really cares about the collections. These are things you and I talk about. You ask the common man, it doesn't make a difference to them. Tell me your favorite film that you've ever seen in Hindi. Choose one.
Are you serious?
Yeah, just one.
Pati, Patni or Wo.
Okay. You liked it?
I did.
Okay. Now I'll ask you the tough question. What did you like about it?
I thought it was a fine storytelling.
Okay? That's what the problem is. When you come out of that cinema, you've gone through an emotional experience. So wonderful. It uplifts you. All right? It's changed your life. That's it. It's an emotional reaction. What did you like about it? Okay, I thought the editing was good. The storytelling was very fine. The screenplay. That's not stuff as an audience you react to immediately. When you're watching a film, oh, the editing is very good. Oh, the backlight. No, you're not. You're reacting to it emotionally. People don't really care about the collections. They like a film or they don't like a film. We, because it's our business,
Absolutely.
we need to discuss it. So when you're making a film, similarly, you make it on an emotional basis. Is this the kind of film you want to make? Is this the kind of film you'd want to watch? You can't make a film saying, okay, I want to make 200 crores, so what do I have to do to make 200 crores? Because nobody knows.
I want to just talk about, you know, the movie dynamics in terms of monies, right? And what an actor gets paid today. So there are different models one follows. I believe some get a fee, whatever their asking rate is, and others ask for a cut in the you know, their distribution. I'm not really particularly interested in what model you follow, but I just want to know how do you think that works, and how do you think actor remuneration, because there's a lot of talk of you know, actors charging a bit too much in the entire scheme of things, and how that needs to go down. How do you think actor remuneration will pan out in the years to come?
Firstly, so I'll answer this in three parts. Sure. Firstly, actor remuneration is too much. Don't pay them. You have the option to say no as a producer. Right? I'm a producer. I've produced 2 films. So I managed to bring them in budget. I managed to make them successful financial ventures. If you feel an actor's charging too much, don't use that actor. Simple as that. You cannot sign an actor and give them what they're asking for and then complain about it because you've agreed to pay that money. You have the option to say no. Secondly, there are various different forms of contracts which have actually been prevalent for a very long time. But that's just the way it is. An actor will try and get their money's worth, their value that they perceive. If the producer cannot pay it entirely upfront, they will find another way to make it more viable for them. Where do I see this going? I see this just becoming more of a trend in the sense that it will not just be, here's your money, take it, move on. Today, if I want to make a very small budgeted film, and if I'm talking about a film which I want to make in 3 to 4 crores, and if I want an actor who allegedly in the market gets 20 crores, how am I going to find a way to make that happen? Because I think that actor will be invaluable to that product in terms of an actor. So I'll approach the actor, I'll say, look, this is the film, this is the story, does it interest you? If that actor says yes, I say, okay, because it is a subject which I think only has a market of 5 to 6 crores, I need to make it in this. How can you make that happen? Then the actor will come back to me with a financial model that he or she thinks can benefit both of them. Sometimes the actor will say, look, I'll cut my price because I believe in this project and I'll do it. Or if I can then go to the actor and say, look, I want to make this film in X amount of money. I can't pay you what you're charging. You take 50% of their share, you take equity into it. So you own it so you can earn long term. And let's make it accordingly. So I think these are models that will keep adapting and coming up. And I think it's a very healthy thing to do.
I want to address 2 questions before I end this interview. One is, I've talked to you about, you know, how you look at films, and you've been very clear about how you look at films. I'd like to now just ask you how you look at endorsements, considering endorsements as a space for actors, which is a very serious, you know, gateway to revenue, is not really, you know, there in the West. You know, but Indian actors make a lot of money by endorsements. Are you particular about, you know, how you choose which brand you want to endorse?
Absolutely.
Okay. If you can take me through that process.
Yes, of course. First of all, I'll answer the thing about the difference between India and the West.
Right, sure.
It again goes back to the whole thing of hero worship.
Absolutely.
What in India, what our stars do, we want to do.
Yeah.
In the West, what your stars do is not necessarily, you have an opinion about that. It comes down to education at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Brad Pitt could be doing something and I'm not interested in what you do. I like you as an actor, but dude, don't tell me that stuff.
Sure, fair
In India, it's completely different.
Yeah.
So that's why I think Indian actors do a lot more. Also, American actors get remunerated in a completely different structure. They have points, they have residuals, so they'll be earning off, somebody like...
Michael Jordan.
Yeah. He's done a film,
Yeah.
Space Jam, but if you see the actors will earn, I think Julia Roberts is still earning off some of the films that released 20 years ago.
Right.
Seinfeld is still earning from the Seinfeld. I think Forbes rated him as the richest actor on earth today, and Seinfeld's been off air for 10 years.
Sure.
But he's still earning off his residuals. But that's not something we have here yet. So they don't really feel the need to do that. Over here, it's a different system altogether. So that's possibly why this happens. What is my process of choosing? I'm very particular. I've never looked at endorsements as just a source of revenue.
Sure.
It is, yes, it's good money. But for me, it's also about certain imaging, a certain branding. For me, it's very important what that product stands for. Most important is, do I use that product?
Yeah.
I'm not going to take the names, but there have been a lot of very lucrative offers that have come to me, but I've said no because I don't use that.
So are you telling me you have an idea number?
I have an idea number. I'm wearing an Omega watch. My dish is a Videocon D2H. My kitchen has prestige products.
That's a first.
And that's what I believe in. Because for me, it's a very serious business. Because I'm not playing a character. I'm Abhishek Bachchan saying, I'd like you to buy this product. And I'm selling it to you. So it's my duty to believe in that product.
Abhishek, I've never heard any actor use the same line you just used, which is, taking accountability for what you're selling.
Absolutely.
Because you are a celebrity and you are an actor.
The amount of times if there's, I'm on Twitter. I'm very active on that. There have been a few occasions where people have said, oh, sir, there's this problem with my idea number. And I report it. I say, guys, let's do something about it. That's what I believe in. If I'm going to lend my name, which I've worked very hard to build, to a product, then I need to believe in it. I need to use it. What kind of a salesman would I be if I'm not using my own product? Right. So it's not just being like, oh, send me a check and I'll do whatever you want. I'm not that kind of a person. I respect people who do that. That's their call, but it's not something I'm comfortable doing.
So this is essentially a marketing advertising show. So most of my audience are advertisers and marketers.
Okay.
I'm sure they'll be very excited to hear that you're an ambassador who actually uses that product. So you'll possibly be getting more calls.
Okay, great.
On another note, given the fact that today we live in a very complex media landscape, simply because of the advent of the digital age, and everybody here having a point of view and a platform to express it, how are you coping with the whole Facebook fan page, being on Twitter, good, bad, ugly, whatever, you'll have to take it and respond. How is that working for you? Do you have a team that manages it? How active are you personally on it?
I'm only on Twitter and Instagram.
On your own?
I don't have a team that handles it for me.
Wow.
Everything I do by myself. I started Twitter about, I think 5 years ago now, because it gave me the platform to communicate with my fans one-to-one. Instantaneous. It cut out the middleman. So I would never bring in a team to handle it for me because it kind of goes against why I started it in the first place. I like the feedback. I like the honesty. It's a great way to stay grounded. You're feeling good. You've done a 200 crore film. You go out onto Twitter and somebody's lambasting you for it. It brings you down to earth. So it's good. But I interact with them. I interact a lot with my fans. And I enjoy that. Having said that, I also understand that I have some 5 million or something followers on Twitter. That's still a very minuscule part of the market I cater to. So you have to balance it out. You can't believe all the negativity and you should not believe all the positivity.
That's great, Abhishek. This was truly a pleasure.
Thank you.
I think your views are very insightful.
Thank you.
And this was truly a pleasure. All the very best for your future endeavors.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you.